Really exciting video for you today. What is the best GT wheel from Fanatec or Moza? And we've got two absolute titans here. So by the end of this video, you're going to know all there is to know about these GT wheels. Super, super, super popular. Head to head. Love to see it. Competition sim racing space. We're going to run through build quality, ergonomics, the buttons, the quick releases, things you might not know if you're browsing online. So Sam, you've got the Fanatec McLaren GT3. Oh, by the way, before we start, these are both my wheels, but this one was a review unit provided by Moza. Anything that strikes you off the bat about the McLaren?
How light it is. It doesn't feel like it's going to stress you throughout driving.
Is that a pro or a con for you? Because your BMW wheel is very heavy.
It's extremely heavy. I think for the shorter sprint races, it's probably a con. But when you get into longer events, like 45 minutes, hour, it's going to be a lot nicer to have the lighter wheel.
So I did a charity iRacing race in that wheel where I drove for 8 hours straight. Ooh. With pit stops for fuel.
Yeah.
And you're right, actually, it's so light. And I was using that on the Fanatec CSL Elite belt-driven system. But I do wonder if that means it's very easy to manipulate as well. Something I haven't noticed is flex, but if you look at the QR...
I was just about to say about, is there flex in it?
Not something I've noticed, but the QR is very old.
Yeah, so this is the original Fanatec quick release, which you can see...
The OG.
Yeah, which screws in and out to be done.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'd be interesting to know about flex because it is always type of... I guess formed ABS. Yeah. So there might be a bit of flex.
Honestly, not something I've noticed. However, in the Fanatec, I actually, and I've done a whole video on this where I've completely disassembled this wheel because my quick release was loose. Mm-hmm. Now it's absolutely rock solid. But ironically, on this one, I had that, and you can see in that video the actual structure and sort of how to fix it. But I want to talk about the face plates of both of them. Because I think very, very, very different. So firstly, on the Moza KS, these all light up actually in whatever colour you want. So you can choose different colours, different buttons to identify them. I have them like all red. It's like it looks really aggressive, these all red lit up. You've got a band here that I think as well can be different colours as well. You have these rotary dials here that I don't think you have on the McLaren.
Nope. So
those can be really nice and responsive for things like brake balance, traction control. You have these dials in the middle, so both of them have these three rotaries, different placement. Your ones that really is a replica, by the way, of the McLaren GT3. So that is designed, I would say, function over style.
Yeah, I'd say so. But it's still a weird layout to have it that you got to take your hands off the wheel to access them. I know yours are slightly off as well, but they don't seem as far over.
Yeah, it's different. If you think about the BMW M4 GT3 will has them sort of a bit lower down and bigger as well. In terms of thumbsticks, something I've completely forgotten. I've used that wheel for almost thousands of hours, I think. You got one on the left, but not on the right. Yeah. I've got two here. That one, though, is a funky switch. That one does rotate. The one on the Moza doesn't. So it's something like iRacing, you can go through all your MFD or ACC on that. You can't on the Moza. But these ones are actual joysticks. Let's get onto the rubber pads. This is arguably one of the most important areas. Like, would you know I spent thousands of hours on that wheel?
No, apart from the shifting wear-outs.
Yeah,
this still looks fresh. Like a little bit of a dusting, and you could. I wouldn't say you could say it as fresh, but it still looks new. Looks really good, like it would do.
I think that wheel is actually an icon of the sim racing scene.
Yeah, it's a great, it's such a good wheel.
And big, I mean, we know Super GT, he's still using that on a daily basis. Like, it's crazy the amount of wheels he has available. He's still using this one, which says an awful lot about it. Maybe it is a lightness, Sam, I don't know.
Well, I mean, obviously with Steve streaming all day, it probably is.
Yeah. Let's talk about clutch paddles and shifters as you identified. So on this GT wheel, we both have clutch paddles. And we both have shifters. Now, very different shifter construction. You've got the bar that goes across, so you feel it all the way through the bar, basically.
Yeah, so when you upshift, you know you're upshifting because your downshift is moving as well.
I liked it as being very reliable and sort of tangibly feeling every upshift. Mm-hmm. That might be a personal preference thing. The build quality, I can't remember, is that quite plastically the clutch? I think they are.
So the gear change is metal. The clutch ones are plastic.
Yeah.
they feel a bit fragile compared to the gear shift.
So these ones are metal. The interesting thing is that these both have a faux carbon fiber finish.
Yes.
Like they might look like carbon fiber. These are not carbon fiber wheels at all. There's definitely more metal going on with the Moza because it's heavier.
I'm surprised by how light this is.
Yeah, it must be that quick release as well. Is sort of if you put a big old quick release on that, it would become really sort of heavy at that point and sort of maybe a bit unbalanced.
I don't know because obviously I've got the quick release on there. There's not a lot of weight to it. It's only bit alley.
It's basically a motherboard that's got some buttons punched through it.
Yeah,
and then it's got a fake carbon fiber finish. There's something going on in the Moza that I can't quite work out, even though I've taken it apart. And I think here it is. The quick release feels a bit heftier. If you want to take both of them, work out where that weight is.
I think it's in the quick release.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that weight is in the quick release.
So Moza, I think, have the same quick release across the whole family. So whether you buy the cheapest wheel or the mid-range one like this or the high-end FSR, you're getting that same quick release. What about size, Sam? Again, maybe you show them together. Like, is the width exactly the same? I think it might be.
The Fanatec is a smidge wider.
That's interesting.
But not by a lot. And the grips, the height is obviously a little bit bigger as well. But in general, there's not a lot of difference. The nice thing which you can see with this Moza is it's actually got a proper rev counter instead of this Fanatec one, which doesn't.
That wasn't a particular issue for me because my CSL Elite wheelbase had it built in. But it might be with some other, if you're using other Fanatec ones, you might have it.
But I mean, I do really like this one. The actual buttons on it, they're all within hand reach. It's like what's not in the hand reach? So the only things which aren't in reach while driving are the 3 analog ones, which you weren't really expecting to. You got all these buttons around here, including the rotary dials at the top, all within reach. Whereas on this one, you've got 6, so you have 6 buttons in reach. Maybe that one, but even the top buttons here, they're still out of reach for how you're driving, unless you can bend your fingers upwards, which isn't going to be the most comfortable.
So the big question, Sam, is, and let you do it because one of these wheels was gifted to me, is the Moza worth £80 more? £280 for the Moza, £200 for the McLaren. Pretty equivalent price in dollars, I think, as well.
So for me, if I had both wheelbases, so it wasn't a choice of I'm stuck on Fanatec or whatever, I would go for the Moza. It's only £80 more. £80 still a lot of money, but it's only £80 more than this. It looks more realistic. It feels more realistic. It's got better features. It looks, I know obviously the Fanatec's taken from a GT3 car.
That I think is a little bit old now though as well.
Yeah, it's probably an older one. But I know it's inspired from it. But to me, this just feels and looks more like a proper racing wheel.
When you hold it like that, it looks a bit like the Moza is an evolved version of the McLaren.
Yeah.
And it's taken some fat out of it and it's sort of been working out.
Yeah.
Even when you look at the grips, they're a little bit contoured in sort of more aggressive ways. So really interesting that design philosophy. 2 impressive wheels.
And there's just one more thing for me. With the Moza grip, you can see where it's chamfered in. So it's actually got a spot for your thumbs to sit in. Where the Fanatec, I keep having to change these wheels around. It's still got the line, but they don't feel as secure. They don't feel like your thumbs are actually anchored into there.
Yeah.
It's got, the grips are nicely profiled, they're chamfered nicely.
Would you prefer that with Alcantara grips? Would that give it a different feel?
I would prefer this with Alcantara grips, but I like that stuff. I like the looks of it over the rubber.
It's an interesting one because it is emulating a real world
wheel.
Would
it give a different feel? Would it make too much difference? I don't think it would. But just for my own personal preference, I think I would. But like I said, it's nicely sculptured on the back. It's got all the grooves for your hands, so it doesn't feel weird to do. The Moza is the same. It doesn't really have the back sculpture in, but it's got it all on the front. It's all in line. I would choose this personally. They're both great wheels, as you could tell by how much they all get used. I would have this personally in my collection.
I think they're 2 great wheels, and I think it's really important for both ecosystems to have a great GT wheel. It's different when you come to the circular ones that we've done in another video, so make sure you're subscribed and check out the videos we've done comparing that. But GT, 2 great options. I think the Moza one is a little bit more advanced, almost like a bit of a newer generation. But if you're in Fanatec, pick up the McLaren while you still can.
Yeah.
When they replace that, it's not going to be as cheap. No. So
that's a bargain as well.
It is a bargain, yeah. So I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.